Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to start our journey of going through some of these category breakdown videos like I'd been kind of hinting at the last couple videos. And so for the first category that we're going to take a look at, today it's going to be the Best Original Song category. This category features 5 nominees from 4 different films. 2 of the films are Best Picture nominees and have a slew of other nominations as well. And 2 of the films in this category, they're the one and only nomination for that film. And so I know that there's a lot of kind of Oscar completionists like me that, watch every single film and short that's nominated for the Academy Awards. But I know some people that instead of watching the song category movies, they just listen to the songs on YouTube or something instead of actually going out and finding the film. And to be fair, there's some years, some songs that you might be able to kind of get away with that, where watching the film doesn't necessarily add anything different to the impact that the song can have. But this year in particular, there's one song that when we get to that song, I'll bring it up again, but there's one song this year that I don't want to say the song has like a different meaning after you've seen the film, but it takes on like a more personal and emotional meaning after you've just seen the film and then get to the song. So I'm glad that I go all in, and I even the films that are only nominated, the lone nomination is just the song. I'm still glad that I actually watched the films because I got to kind of experience that this year with one of these films that we'll get to. So for this video, we're just going to go through each of the nominees, give you a couple little facts, talk about the songwriters, talk about the performers, and then just mention just kind of quick facts here and there about each of the songs, and then at the end of each nominee, I'll give my personal ranking of, how I would rank the songs in terms of, my favorite to least favorite, and then I'm also going to give my predictions of how likely I think it is to win at the Academy Awards on March 10th. So the first nominee that we're going to take a look at today is The Fire Inside from Flaming Hot, music and lyrics by Diane Warren, performed by Becky G. This is Diane Warren's 15th Oscar nomination, her 7th year in a row with a nomination, and 9 in the last 10 years. The message of the song is to not let anyone hinder your ambitions and stop you from becoming what you want to become. The song plays during the end credits. Now, not that I'm super qualified, to really be talking about movies, but I definitely know more about movies than I do about music. So I don't know exactly, like what the instrument or what is kind of making the whistle kind of humming tune at the beginning of this song, but there's kind of that whistle, and then there's other, kind of the melody and parts of the chorus and parts of the song here that are catchy, but unfortunately I don't think that this song is very memorable, and I can't help but get the feeling that we're just reaching this point with Diane Warren, and that everyone can kind of predict it every single year that one of the 5 slots in this category is just going to go to the random Diane Warren song that happened to come out in a movie that very few people saw and otherwise wouldn't be an awards contender in any other category. And that's, again, what we have here. Which is unfortunate, because I think it kind of is almost making Diane Warren out to be this, kind of villain of nomination season, because people, I think, are kind of starting to get a little frustrated and starting to get a little annoyed by just the random Diane Warren nomination every single year, when in years past she's had some really good songs. Particularly, I wish we could, in hindsight, I wish we could go back to, is it 21... It was either the 2021 Oscars or 2022 Oscars, where EOC from The Life Ahead was nominated. I really loved that song. That might have been, I can't remember all the nominees exactly, but I remember that year not being super strong in the song category, that I think EOC might have actually been my favorite of that group. And so in hindsight, I wish we could almost just go back and award that the Oscar for original song that year, if that means that we don't have to continue to do this every single year of just nominating the random Diane Warren song. But alas, we can't, and so I think we're going to just kind of have this trend going forward that until she finally gets one, I think we're just going to, every single year, probably going to be pumping out another Diane Warren Oscar nomination. So my personal rank for this song is 5th. My prediction is 4th. And again, this is one of those that I just think that until she wins one, I think she's every time she's nominated, it's going to be creeping up a little bit higher and higher on my predictions rank. The second nominee that we're going to take a look at is I'm Just Ken from Barbie, music and lyrics by Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt, performed by Ryan Gosling. This is Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt's second Oscar nominations. They previously won for writing the Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper smash hit Shallow from A Star Is Born back in 2019. The song is Gosling's Ken pleading his case for why he deserves Barbie's attention and affection. The song plays during the third act of the film. This song is obviously very goofy, it's very silly. It had the opportunity to kind of almost be a train wreck. It could have gone downhill very fast, especially because it plays during the climax of the film. It plays at a very pivotal part of the movie. But the reason that I think that this film, or the reason that this song works so well in the film, and why it's kind of become almost like a cultural moment, if you will, I think the reason that it works so well is due to like the vulnerability in which Ryan Gosling sings the song. You know, he knows that it's goofy, he knows that it's silly, but he's still singing it like it's this very dramatic love song, and so it's hitting like the passion that he's, you know, kind of that vulnerability that I talk about. That's the reason that the song is coming off as well as it is, and it works so well in the film too, because of how sincere all the Kens are in performing the song, and how serious they kind of take that goofy, you know, battle scene, and so it's just putting both things together, kind of the goofy, funny nature of it, combined with how serious and like personal it's sounding coming from Ryan Gosling, you know, and then combine that with the way that all of the other Kens and everyone else in the film is treating it like it's this big cultural moment is what has caused it to become that, to become this moment in time, if you will, that everyone is kind of attached themselves to a little bit, if that makes sense, and why I'm Just Ken is probably the most most popular out of all of these, maybe second most popular out of all of these songs in this category. And for I'm Just Ken, for a lot of people, I think they initially just kind of thought of it as kind of that goofy, the fun nomination that sneaks in there, but I think I'm Just Ken actually has a decent shot here at winning the Oscar. There's only really, of the main precursors, there's really only two precursors that have a Best Original Song category, and one of them is the Critics' Choice Award, which awarded I'm Just Ken Best Original Song. So I'm Just Ken has one of the two main precursor wins already, so I think it's got a decent little shot here in this category. My personal ranking for this song is going to be third, and then my prediction is, like I mentioned, I think it's in second as one of the two that has a precursor win. The next nominee that we're going to take a look at is It Never Went Away from American Symphony, music and lyrics by Jon Batiste and Dan Wilson, performed by Jon Batiste. This is Jon Batiste's second Oscar nomination, but his first in the original song category. His previous nomination is for when he won Best Original Score alongside Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for Soul in 2021. This is Semisonic frontman Dan Wilson's first Oscar nomination. The song is a love song that Jon Batiste wrote for his wife, Zuleika Jawad, while she's in the hospital going through chemotherapy. The song plays as the credits begin to roll. Now, this is the nominee that I was hinting at in the in kind of the introduction of this video, where the song plays during the credits, and sometimes I think some people in this category, they get, I don't want to say frustrated, or they get a little bit annoyed, I think, with how often some of these songs are just credit songs as opposed to actually being used in the song. And so, but this, I think, is just a completely different scenario. So this is the song that I was mentioning, that as you're watching this very intimate and beautiful film about Jon Batiste and his wife Zuleika Jawad, is you're watching their story. It's very intimate, it's very personal, and you're moved throughout the song, obviously. And then the credits start to roll, and It Never Went Away starts playing. And I had previously listened to the song, just like on YouTube, when the nominees, or when the short lists were announced. And so I'd heard the song, and it was like, oh, it's a nice, cute little song. But this is the one that after you've seen the film, then listening to the song, it just hits on a different level. It's very emotional. It's very tender. It's a personal piece for Jon Batiste, and so I highly recommend if you haven't seen American Symphony on Netflix. I highly recommend going and watching it, and then listening to this music as the credits are rolling. And don't just turn it off as soon as the credits start, because this is listening to the song during the credits after watching this very beautiful story between these two. It just hit on a different level. So if my personal ranking of this song is second, and then my prediction is third, I do think that there's maybe a chance of like a sleeper win here, because Jon Batiste is already a previous Oscar winner, and then he's obviously had a lot of success at the Grammys and a lot of other different award shows. And so I think that people in the industry really do love Jon Batiste, and so I think, again, maybe there is like a little bit of a chance for like a sleeper win here, but for now I'm going to leave it in third. The next nominee is Wahzhazhe, A Song for My People, from Killers of the Flower Moon. Music and lyrics by Scott George, performed by Osage tribal singers. Scott George is the first Indigenous nominee in the Best Original Song category, and the first member of the Osage Nation to be nominated for an Oscar in any category, which is something I learned reading an article from the Oklahoman. In an interview with Tulsa World, Scott George said the lyrics in the song mean, "God has made a way for us. Osages, stand up. You have survived and gotten this far with the help of our Creator." The song plays in the final scene of the movie and then continues to play as the credits start. This was a nice kind of surprise on Oscar nomination morning. I feel like every single year, for the most part, in the song category, there is always kind of one that pops up that a lot of people aren't really predicting, and that was this year was Wahzhazhe. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But in that interview that I was reading, I think it's either the one in Tulsa World that I was reading or the Oklahoman, but in one of those articles that I was reading, Scott George was mentioning that they were just kind of surprised and honored to even have had their song even make the short list, because before the Oscar nominations are announced, there's a couple categories, and song is one of them, where they make a short list of 15 different options that the voters listen to and get to vote on. And so Wahzhazhe made that short list. And Scott George was just kind of saying that he was, again, surprised, and they were very grateful that they even made the shortlist. And you could tell in that the way he was in that interview, you didn't think he really had a shot of actually getting a nomination. And so when they did get that nomination, he was even more just speechless and very honored and very grateful that this song was kind of made its way into the Oscar race. And again, just by getting the nomination, it's going to get a lot of people to, go and, obviously people that had seen the film probably have heard it, because again, it's as the credits, right, the final scene, and then as the credits go, so people have heard it, but maybe don't remember it and recognize it, and so this is an opportunity for people to go back and to watch that, and to re-listen to the song. So they were very grateful that he was saying in that interview, and he was also mentioning that a lot of them, because it's like the Osage Nation, like they're tribal, like a group of tribal singers, and so they're not these classically trained musicians that he was mentioning as the other people in this category. And so it was just a really cool story, kind of reading those articles and seeing how honored and how excited they were for this nomination. For my personal rank, I'm going to put this in fourth, and then for my prediction, I'm going to put it in fifth, but I will say that this does kind of feel a little wrong putting this in fifth, because I do think this is maybe the song that has the best chance, I would say, of kind of a trying to think of how I want to phrase this. It's the best chance for a lot of people to kind of get behind it and kind of make a strong push for a good narrative of why this should be the winner in this category. So while I do respect that, I do think that there is a chance that this can have like a massive push, especially kind of the last week of Oscar voting, I do still have the hardest time seeing this winning, so I'm going to put it in fifth in my predictions. And as you can see, looking at this graph here, that a lot of surprise on what I think of this last song, the last nominee, What Was I Made For, from Barbie. Music and lyrics by Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell, performed by Billie Eilish. This is Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell's second nominations in this category. They previously won back in 2022 for No Time to Die from No Time to Die. The song is Billie Eilish taking an existential look at her life and pondering her purpose in the same way that Barbie does in the film. The song plays in the void scene at the end of the film, and then plays again toward the end of the credits. And while the Barbie soundtrack is full of, bangers, if you will, and full of the kind of these dance hits and these kind of more pop and like cheerful, upbeat, fun songs. That is what the majority of the Barbie soundtrack is. This is the song that I think almost just stands out way more, and I think it's because of that kind of the contrast of how different it kind of is compared to, Dance the Night or I'm Just Ken or The Man That I Am. It just kind of it stands out different from a lot of those songs that are in the soundtrack. And it's just the emotional, because it plays, like I mentioned, in that void scene. I don't want to, obviously Barbie's been out for 7-8 months now at this point, but I still don't really want to spoil the film, so I'll just mention the void scene. And obviously it plays during there, which is a very emotional moment of kind of the climax of the film. And that's the first time that you hear it, and it hits hard, it hits emotional. And then when it plays again in the credits, I remember it was as me and my friends were leaving the theater that, hearing it again, and it's just Billie Eilish. It's a very beautiful song. It's very, kind of the piano. It all just comes together very well, and it's very, kind of an intimate. And then when you listen to the lyrics, you can feel the emotion. You can feel kind of how raw it is from Billie, and I just think as a song it just works so well. I mean, just as like a song you'd hear on the radio, because it did play on the radio a ton, but then it also just works so well in the way that it's used in the film, and then again in the credits. It brings out that real kind of that tender emotion that they were looking for. And so in this category, Billie Eilish joins Mark Ronson and Jon Batiste as previous Oscar winners. So 3 people in this category have won an Oscar. But I think that it's Billie Eilish that has the fast track, or the inside track here, to winning Oscar number 2. Again, I mentioned that there's 2 precursors of the main precursors, not talking about kind of like the state's critics groups and stuff, but just the main national precursors. There's 2 that have a Best Original Song category. Critics' Choice went to I'm Just Ken, and the Golden Globe for Best Original Song went to What Was I Made For? So that's the 2 Barbie songs that have the 2 precursor wins, which I think is going to put them as kind of the 2 frontrunners in this category. So for my personal rank of this song, it is first, and my prediction is first. I do think that, as of right now, I think What Was I Made For is the song to beat here for Barbie. And that's it. Those are the nominees for the Best Original Song category for the 2024 Academy Awards. I will say that compared to kind of previous years, initially I did think that this was kind of a weaker field, a weaker group of songs compared to the last 4 or 5 years or so. But the more that, especially in prep for this video, the more that I listened to each of these songs, the more that I really kind of started to like them and really it does feel a little bit stronger of a category than I initially thought, even though maybe it doesn't necessarily have as many, kind of the power hitters, or it doesn't necessarily have the, Not To from RRR, it doesn't have, or, Husavik from a couple years ago. It doesn't really have the songs that people are like super passionate in getting behind, that's kind of driving the narrative of maybe a little bit stronger of a category. I guess maybe I'm Just Ken and Wahzhazhe can kind of have that a little bit, but ultimately it doesn't feel like this category, and maybe because it's also we're a month and a half away from the ceremony, so we'll give it another month and a half and we'll see if kind of more people start listening to these songs, and maybe this category does feel a little bit stronger than it does initially. But yeah, as I continue to listen to these songs, I'm finding myself liking them more and more. But yeah, so that's it for this category. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite song from this category is, or what song you think is going to win when the Oscars are announced on March 10th. Also, let me know if there's any songs you thought were a snub in this category, whether that be Peaches from Super Mario Bros. Or Road to Freedom from Rustin. I'd be interested to hear what songs you think should have gotten attention, and what songs maybe were just ignored completely by the Academy that you would have honored. And then also, while you're down there in the comments, let me know what category you'd like to see me break down next. I've kind of got an idea of maybe the path that I'm going through each of these categories, and don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through every single category before the Oscars, but we're going to try and get through as many as we can. Unfortunately, there's a couple of the categories, like animated film, for example, where I've seen 4 of the 5 nominees, but that 5th one, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to see Robot Dreams. So there's a couple categories like that where if I haven't seen one of the films in the category, I don't want to do a breakdown video until like I've seen it and can kind of give a little bit more of a knowledgeable opinion on the categories. But yeah, just let me know any categories you'd like to see me break down next. I will take a look at those and put that in consideration when deciding what video to do next. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. For those of you that this may be your first time seeing the video, I get that this is probably going to be the first video that I'm actually going to kind of push out there a little bit more and try and get people to watch. So if this is your first video, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, stick around, and see what else we've got coming up the next couple months. So that's it, and I hope you have a great day.